The boys found themselves surrounded by Penguin's hired goons, all looking to make way into his organization, and all for the simple price of taking their lives. The boys stood back to back as they had before, each one analyzing the group of henchmen that they'd have to defeat. It wasn't too much for them to overcome, given their training and their expertise, and for as big of a group as it was, they were just unarmed goons, henchmen, thugs, nothing to be taken overly serious. Although, the Penguin had a way of throwing a wrench into those conceived plans, as a couple of large containers would fall from the ceiling, and large mutated beasts would come crawling out of them. Shinso looked to the mutated monsters, and he had a bad feeling about it. Bruce would be speaking through all of their communicators, telling them that it looked like Penguin had gotten his hands on some of the Titan chemical used by one of his more infamous rogues villains, the one known as Bane. Titan was an illegal substance, no different than steroids or anything of that nature, performance enhancer to say the least, although the side effects were truly deadly. Of course, it didn't stop people from buying it or from people trying to replicate or make some of its own. Although, even during Bruce's time, Titan was considered such an outlandish use of a power boost that not a lot of people considered it. Sure, it had its strengths, but the side effects, among many things, was that Titan was just addicting. The more you took of it, the more you wanted, the more power you felt like you needed. Eventually, you put so much strain on your own body to the point where you just couldn't take any more. The fact that Cobblepot had gotten his hands on it, it could only mean bad news. Of course, fighting off against the large goons was easier said than done. They had comparable strength. If Izuku had to guess, these mutated monsters were about half the strength of Muscular, and he still had the scars from when they clashed just all those months ago during the raid at the UA camp. But still, they were able to hold their own against the two mutated freaks, being able to lunge them around until eventually the strain of the Titan formula was too much on them. A couple of well-placed strikes, kicks, and punches was enough to bring them down, and eventually, and unfortunately, it was probably the end of them. Although they wouldn't allow that to cloud their judgment, as now they had to focus on getting to Cobblepot and locating the other officers who were being taken hostage. Eventually, it would lead them to an open space, a large hall room that had water beneath them. It was probably an aquarium-type exhibit here in the museum, but now it was just a large wasteland of water with frozen ice atop of it. Izuku would be the first one to touch down on the ice, only for what appeared to be a large shark coming out of nowhere. Izuku, in another sentence he thought he'd never have to say, had to fight off a shark as it went back into the waters. Cobblepot teased him through the intercoms as he lied protective inside of the iceberg lounge. He'll like that. It's a special little pet project of mine. He's like a good old garbage disposal. Anything I throw in the water as well, he just gobbles it right up. In the meantime, within the room in the frozen waters, there were the officers who were frozen stiff in ice. Of course, Izuku had to get to them, but still, walking across the sheets of ice could potentially alert his location and give the shark another crack at him. This was where Kochi and his quirk would come into play. His quirk, Slide and Glide, allowing him, using the soles of his feet or any part of his body once his quirk was activated, he could just glide across any surface effortlessly, like a ball on a pool table. And because of this gliding feature, he was able to move without any detection because, technically speaking, he was just moving on top of the ice. He wasn't crackling it or breaking it along the way. As such, he would glide to each of the frozen officers, securing them and getting them to a safe location, allowing for them a chance to try to warm up. Izuku would get an analyzed map of the entire museum, alerting them to where they needed to go. And with help from the officers, they'd know where the last few were held up. The east corridor of the museum was where Mr. Freeze was being held prisoner. And to the west, there were a few more officers that were being held hostage, along where Freeze's suit was being kept. And straight ahead to the northern part, the Iceberg Lounge, where Cobblepot resided. Izuku would break them up and would give them the game plan. Shinso would go to where the Freeze suit was to free the remaining hostages. Kochi would go to where Mr. Freeze was and get him out of there, while Izuku and Bakugo would head straight to Cobblepot and to put an end to his reign of terror once and for all. With their assigned positions given, each boy would head to their respective location. Shinso, to start, heading to the west corridor, would arrive to a large multi-layered room where the Freeze suit was being secured. There were 4 officers being huddled together on an extending bridge at gunpoint. Shinso was quickly able to analyze that the goons within the room itself were using night vision goggles, looking towards the upper part of the ceiling, where the gargoyles lied. Chances are this is where they were expecting him to come from, and they wouldn't be wrong about that. There were about 6 gunmen total. He would have to be careful, moving through from gargoyle to gargoyle. If anyone using the night vision were to get a locating on him, then his cover would be blown. And he wanted to move silently to make sure that they wouldn't see him coming. He would wait, bide his time. They were making their patrols, expecting trouble to arrive, but still relatively calm. Shinso spotted one that was patrolling the farthest away from the others. Descending down below on a staircase, he would quietly creep behind the gunman in question. "Who goes there?" "Huh? Who said that?" "You say something, Frank?" "You didn't say anything." No, didn't say anything." "You good?" "You're good." Yeah, I'm good. Don't know what happened. I think I saw a rat or something." "Scared of a rat, eh?" "Shut up." "Here's what you're gonna do. You're going to help me in taking out your friends. One by one, I'm going to clear out the west side of the room. You clear out the east. They won't see you coming. Don't be suspecting. You're not supposed to kill them, but incapacitate them when they're not looking. Do that for me." "Understood." Now having an ally, it made things a little bit easier. Shinso, wanting to show his graciousness for this partnership, decided he would take 3, while his newfound friend would take out the other 2. They had to be discreet, making sure that they weren't being calculated while doing so. Thankfully, having an ally like this, he was aware of the specially made shock collars that they were all wearing. Modified, of course. With a specially made heartbeat monitor, it would go off if anyone went unconscious for any reason. As such, the hypnotized goon in question would casually walk behind one of his associates, who turned back and saw him and thought nothing of it. And because of that, he didn't expect to have the barrel of a gun wrapped around his throat, crushing slowly as he fell unconscious, and quickly enough, his heartbeat monitor was cut off, not allowing any of the others to be alerted to what was taking place. And he would quickly dispatch of the other two henchmen. For Shinso, he decided to go with a 2-for-1 special. Using his own brand of explosive gel, he would spray 3 areas of a wall, while 2 were going on patrol and got close enough. The explosive gel would activate, knocking out the 2 henchmen at the same time. Shinso would then make his move. The only one left in the room now, his allies all taken out, save for the final one. He would attempt to take one of the officers hostage, as Shinso would move to the gargoyle, waiting and watching. "Don't come any closer! You hear me, you freak? You come anywhere near me, and I'll blow his freaking head off!" "What the... Frank, is that you? Oh, thank God. I almost took you out. Listen, we gotta stand back to back, all right? You watch mine, I watch yours. You see any freak in a mask and a cape coming by, we waste them, or we waste these pigs." The goon that had taken the hostage felt a little better seeing his ally, so much so that he turned his back to him, which wasn't a good move, because the hypnotized person in question took the blunt end of his gun and bashed him in the back of the head, knocking him out cold. The officers that had been taken hostage couldn't believe it. He took out his own guy. Why the hell would he do that? It was then that Shinso, aka the Red X, would appear before them. "That would be my doing, officers." "What the... Who are you?" "You can just call me the Red X. Don't worry, I'm here to help." "What about him, though?" "Leave it to me. You did a good job. Now, I want you to turn around, get down on your knees, and place both hands behind your head." The hypnotized goon would do just as instructed, as Shinso would deliver a well-placed kick to the back of his head. His hands used as a way of cushion. That way, him being knocked out wouldn't be too bad. "West room is secure. Hostages and free suit." "Copy that," Kochi would say. "Heading towards the eastern corridor. Locating Mr. Freeze." Cobblepot was playing a little bit of a sick game, capturing all the people that he didn't like and putting them on display. Freeze was no exception, and the display case he was in was rather hot. Looked like someone forgot to put a little air conditioning in there, and it looked dreadful. However, before Kochi could even get a chance to rescue him, a brick wall that he was attempting to break through with his explosive gel would be broken for him, as a large, one-armed man, carrying what appeared to be a frozen ice sickle, would be lunging towards him, along with a few other of Cobblepot's men. This was Mr. Sickle. If you're wondering, yes, he is the brother of Mr. Hammer. They were conjoint twins, separated, each born with a quirk. Mr. Hammer, he had the quirk of fire manipulation, similar to a lot of pyrokinetics, although his fire was a lot different than most. He could turn fire into any physical construct he wanted. He chose a hammer. As for Mr. Sickle, he had the same power, but with ice. I know what you're probably thinking. Do they have any relations to the Endeavors, to the Todorokis, to any of that family drama? No. But you could say they were the ultimate form of irony, if you could even call them that. All the same, Kochi had his hands full as he would slide and glide throughout the room, taking out the thugs quickly and effectively, using his electrified billy clubs, stunning all of his opponents, before finally engaging with Mr. Sickle himself. With a stomp of his foot, frozen ice tendrils would pop from the ground, protruding in jagged edges attempting to pierce him. Kochi, however, would slide effortlessly, moving through the constructs of ice, as he would strike at Mr. Sickle over and over, before eventually finishing him with a series of combo moves, which resulted in 2 electrified stun shocks to both sides of his head, and a well-placed knee to the face. A broken nose, but he'd live. Mr. Freeze couldn't believe it. After all these years, the famed Nightwing had returned. Or was it someone else? Probably. The original Nightwing never had a quirk. All the same, Kochi would free Mr. Freeze. Another one. It's like you all multiplied like roaches. You're welcome. Anywho, this is Nightwing, Eastern Corridor. Freeze is secure. As for Bakugo and Izuku, they were having their hands full with Cobblepot. Inside of the Iceberg Lounge, he was testing out Mr. Freeze's gun, using it to its fullest extent, despite barely knowing the ins and outs of it. There was one thing he did know. It created a pretty powerful force field that even Bakugo's explosions couldn't break, and it could shoot out some pretty deadly ice balls. He's got a hold of Freeze's gun, Izuku would say. We need to have a way to shut it down. Kochi, see if Freeze has an override. Copy that. Mr. Freeze? Sir? What? Yeah, I'm sorry, but about your gun, you think you might want to tell me how to shut it down? You must be joking. Why the hell would I tell you that? Well, it would do some good. And I mean, come on. I know you're not really a bad guy. You're only doing all this because you want to help your wife, and don't mention my Nora. Look, Kochi said seriously. I'm trying to help you out here. You don't want to hurt us. We don't want to hurt you. It's obvious that the Penguins crossed you. And you want to get even with them. Maybe we can help with that. But you need to help us. That would be easier said than done. Okay then. Kochi would pull the small tube that was attached to his chest right out of him. What are you? I'm told that this formula is what's needed to keep you alive, right? That without it, you'll eventually die? Tell me how to shut down the freeze gun, Kochi would say. There's an override chip in the left console of my suit. You copy that? I copy that, Shinso would say, as he stood in front of the display case with the infamous freeze suit. After searching through and finding the override chip, he would tell the officers that his friend was going to be coming by with Mr. Freeze to help collect his things, and to not be so on edge, but to hold themselves up for now. In the meantime, both Izuku and Bakugo were buying whatever precious moments that they could, waiting for the others to arrive. Before long, Shinso would get to them, using the specially made disruptor. With the overriding freeze chip placed within, he was able to use it to disrupt the gun that was needed. Kochi would come sliding in from out of nowhere, knocking Cobblepot off of his perch as they went falling into the ground below. Yeah, you damn, yeah, Bakugo said, as he pulled out his gun and pointed it directly towards Cobblepot's head. You would kill me. I know you. You sure about that? I've read your file. You've done a lot of heinous crap, old man. And sometimes my finger can get very, very itchy. Easy, Izuku would say, as he placed his hand on Kachan's shoulder. There's no need to take it that far. He's not worth it. I just wanted to scare him a bit. I haven't had a chance to use these things yet. How exactly do they work? Kochi asked. Oh, my nitroglycerin? The sweat. It goes inside of the clip. The magazine holders for the bullets. The bullets become filled with my sweat, so when I shoot, it shoots off an explosion instead of an actual bullet. Depending on how much pressure I add to these things, I can make my explosions a lot more denser and a lot more deadlier. What happened to those big-ass gauntlets you always carried? Shinso would ask. I had to get here fast. I didn't have time to bring them with me. These are basically just smaller substitutes. While the four were talking, it left them distracted. Just long enough for Cobblepot to activate his emergency plan, causing the ground to blow up beneath them as they fell down to another layer. You boys are truly something else. You know, the old bat never would have fell for something like this. Definitely wouldn't have wasted time talking to himself about how cool his weapons are. But I got a treat for you guys. You ever heard the tale of Solomon Grundy? Solomon Grundy? Bakugo would ask. That's right, Kochi would say. You know, the nursery rhyme. You know, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on a Tuesday, married on a Wednesday. You know, that... Yeah, that's the one, Cobblepot said, holding up a tiny device in his hand. Pressing it, 3 large pillars of electricity would emerge, shooting into a cavern before them, as they felt large footsteps starting to emerge from the outskirts. For one night only, coming to ladies and gentlemen, one and all, the one bastard you can't kill. Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, married on a Wednesday. Oh crap, he's real, Kochi said. You just had to say something, didn't you, Kachan? Izuku would say. Oh, shit. Is this a bad time to say run? Shinso would say. As Solomon Grundy, shackled with ball and chain in both of his arms, would begin swinging them about wildly, as Cobblepot forced him to be reanimated once again. Bruce could only shake his head as he watched through the screen. Of all the things Cobblepot just had to dig up, he chose Solomon freaking Grundy. Izuku. Yes, sir? You know that rule I've told you? About not killing, sir? Yeah. Now's the time to make an exception to that. What? All of you. The core in Grundy's chest. That weird yellow heart thing? Shinso would ask him. You need to break through the ribcage and you need to destroy it. Contrary to popular belief, Grundy's not even human anymore. Hardly able to tell what he is. You need to bring him down, and that's the only way. You need to destroy that core of his. With that, before they could have a chance of destroying the core, they had to destroy the machine that was powering it. A machine that had a protective covering that would reappear and disappear every few seconds. While Bakugo would work on destroying the core, the others would play distraction with Grundy, causing him to swing and move about wildly. Shinso even tried to use his hypnosis quirk on him, but it was to no effect. Bakugo, in the meanwhile, had managed to destroy the 3 terminals. At least he thought he had done enough, using his explosion quirk. Ditching using the guns now that he had to use a fully powered explosion, he would couple it into his hands, firing it and attempting to destroy the device. But Cobblepot was stubborn, and instead just forced more energy back into it, causing Grundy to now be set ablaze and yet still kicking and moving. Oh, to hell with all of this, Bakugo would say. You 3 deal with the machine. I'm gonna take on Big Bad Grundy. Kachan, what do you plan on? Just watch me! Bakugo would charge directly towards Solomon Grundy. As he reached out, he forced both his hands deep into Grundy's chest. What are you waiting for? Destroy the damn thing! Grundy was now slamming him into the wall repeatedly, but Kachan was still holding on, not letting go, even for a moment. The boys would quickly use their explosive gel, eventually destroying the electronic machine that was being used to help facilitate Grundy's revival. Once it was all gone and there was no chance of giving him any more juice, Bakugo would focus a well-concentrated explosion, pouring everything he had straight into Grundy's chest with the intent to kill. Without so much as a warning, a large explosion would occur, knocking Bakugo back into the arms of the others, as Grundy was left standing. Nothing but an empty hole that could be seen through the other side. Cobblepot would attempt to grab one of his grenade launcher guns, attempting to have some form of a last stand, although before he even got a chance to do so, Shinso would quickly stop all of that. You think this is over? It's not. I've got some. Loser says, what? What? Oh. You know, Izuku would say, if we had just done that from the beginning, would have saved us a lot of time. Shut up. Yeah, alright. Alright, Cobblepot, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna walk into a display case, and you're just gonna sit there until the cops pick you up, okay? Uh-huh. With that, Cobblepot would waddle away to go and lock himself inside of a display case in the museum. You know, I can't help but feel like that was rather anticlimactic, Kochi said. It's not like we have time to waste around here anyway, Bakugo would say. They would soon rendezvous with the other officers, and with Freeze, who was now back inside of his freeze suit and getting himself back up and running. You boys are something else, Freeze would say. You lack the tact and finesse that the Bat did. But, safe to say, you'll get the job done. What exactly is your business with me? Izuku would step forward to Mr. Freeze, the old-aged villain sizing Izuku up, looking him up and down. This was definitely not the same bat, not the one he had faced in the past. But yet, even under that cowl, he could feel the aura of determination. The spirit lived on. We need the cure. The cure. The one that I was making for the clown. So that's what you're after. He sent it out to the people of the Gotham Prefecture, potentially all over Japan. It's going to contaminate and get a lot of people sick, or potentially worse. We need the cure to be able to help them. Please. I'm sorry, but the cure that you are looking for is simply incomplete. Incomplete? Bakugo would say. What the hell do you mean by that? What I mean is that I am missing a critical enzyme, a bonding agent. It is the only thing that is needed to stabilize the formula for the cure. Without it, there is no chance of saving anyone. Where exactly can we get this enzyme, though? Kochi would ask. It would have to come from a human who has lived a long time. At the bare minimum, someone who's lived for well over 200 years. But I'm afraid we don't know anyone that would fit that description. Actually, Bruce would say, chiming in through Izuku's communication link, there is someone. You don't mean... I do. Ra's al Ghul. But he's supposed to be gone now, Izuku said back into his communicator. Not necessarily. Arkham City, it's more than just a prison facility. There are many places that hold many things, Izuku. Keys to the past that could help our future. Tell Freeze that we'll meet him back at the GCPD. Izuku would do just so. Freeze was okay with this, not sure what exactly the boys had planned, but whatever it was up for them to do. He had his own issues to deal with and didn't have time to placate the children. Meanwhile, outside of the museum, the four boys gathered together on the roof to discuss what they were going to do next. Okay, sir, what do we have to do? There's a catacomb underneath you all. It was known as Old Gotham. It was renovated long ago. After a great disaster, the new Gotham was built over it. But there's also something else. A place called Wonder City. Wonder City? Thought that was just a myth, Bakugo would say. Far from it. It was during my time in the field when I explored the depths of Wonder City. I came face to face with Ra's al Ghul. If a sample of his DNA is what you're looking for, you're bound to find it in Wonder City. All right then, that's where we need to go. Not all of you, just Izuku. What? Bakugo would say. What, you don't think we can all handle it? If we work together as a team, we'll be able to. I can't afford to send you all there. Right now, there are a lot of other issues that are plaguing Arkham City right now. Issues that I have to leave to the four of you to deal with. I'm sending you the details now. but there are other cases that need to be solved all throughout the city. I'm entrusting all of you to take care of it, unless something can be done in the meantime to shut this place down. But still, it'll be okay, Izuku said. He's right. This place needs us, for better or for worse. We're all it's got. But why? They're just criminals, Shinso would say. I mean, not saying that Strange is right or anything, but at the same time, it's not like a lot of these guys were just squeaky clean. Even if they didn't end up here, it wasn't like they weren't going to get locked up. But this isn't right. And there are people here that don't deserve to be here. If we can help them in any way, they deserve a chance. Fine. We'll split up. See what we can do. But seriously, if you need anything, we're not going to be too far, Shinso would say. Bakugo, I'm sending a drop your way, Bruce would tell him. The Batwing would fly overhead, dropping a tiny metallic crate. Bakugo would open it and see freshly made custom grenade gauntlets that he suited to both of his wrists. Sleek and in style. I like it. It packs more of a punch from your standard gauntlets. I was going to gift them to you, although I thought it would be under better circumstances. You all have your missions. Now go. Well, let's see, Kochi would say. Seems like there's an identity thief around these parts. Identity thief? Yeah, someone who's been cutting people up and stealing parts of their face. That and a whole bunch of other political prisoners who have no priors that got thrown in here as well. I'll see if I can round them all up in the meantime. Figure out why they got thrown in here in the first place, Kochi would say, before heading off. Shinso, what about you? There have been a couple of murders that have been taking place around these parts. It seems to be connected to the ringing payphones. As soon as I hear one, I'm gonna... The boys could hear a payphone off in the distance. You couldn't see it, but if you could, Shinso was practically rolling his eyes at this point. And that's my cue. See ya. He gave them a quick salute before grappling off to where the payphone was ringing. That finally left Bakugo and Izuku. What about you, Kachan? The Titan containers. If there are some that have been shipped out around here, I need to destroy them. I'm going to have my cow calibrate to find if there are any in particular. Judging from the frequency, it's said to be around 12 or so containers all around this area. I'm going to destroy them all. Make sure no one else can get to them. And then I'm coming back to help you out. So you better not die, you damn nerd. And with that, Bakugo was off. That left Izuku to his lonesome. He was going to have to find the entrance to Wonder City, a place long since abandoned and forgotten. An area that contained much history. History that was set to repeat itself. This concludes My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 3, Part 4 of the Arkham City arc. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcasting's That's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue with My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 3, Part 5 of the Arkham City arc. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time. Protocol 10 will commence in 7 hours.